So hello everyone, it's the Cricket Connoisseur here and welcome to a bit of a special video here on the YouTube channel. Today I'm joined by cricket commentator Nikhil Uttamchandani, and today we're going to be previewing the upcoming three-match test series between England and the West Indies, which is all set to kick off in Southampton on the 8th of July. So first things first, Nikhil, thank you very much for coming onto the show today. How's your day been so far, mate?
Yeah, everything's been great, man. Thank you so much for having me on. It's great to be here. I'm a big fan of the Cricket Connoisseur podcast, so great to, be on it.
Well, thank you very much. And yes, well, to kickstart things really, Nikhil, okay. Obviously, it's been 3 months. I believe the last international cricket we had was the New Zealand-Australia series. How excited are you for this series?
Yeah, very excited, actually. I think, it's a good opportunity for what is always a highly competitive series. Last year, you saw when England came to the Caribbean, it was really, intense. And I think the West Indies, we are ready to do well in England, and we love touring England. I think it's going to be great for the entire cricket world to see, that cricket can be played in tough times like this.
Well, yeah, 100%. And as you alluded to, okay, yeah, West Indies did win that, didn't they? 2-1. Yeah, pretty convincing victories, weren't they, as well, the two that they won. And just to give everyone at home watching almost a tale of the tape, really going into this series, England are currently 4th in the World Test Championship. We've got 5 wins, 1 draw, and 3 losses. West Indies are in 8th. 2 games, both against India, both lost, no wins, no draws, no points. So this is actually a pretty big series for both teams, really, in unique circumstances. And obviously, last week, the squads were announced. What were your initial thoughts on the squads, Nikhil?
Yeah, seeing the West Indies squad, I don't think there were many surprises because looking at our first class season, especially in the reserves, you expected those to be picked. Obviously, you had those 3 guys opting out, which I'm sure we're going to get into. But in terms of the England squad, I was kind of surprised to see, 18 seamers, I think it is. They've gone with a heavy seam attack, but I think that's more for the rotation because of the Pakistan series, etc. But yeah, that bowling attack, regardless of who they put on the field, is not going to be an easy task for a batting that's kind of inexperienced for the West Indies. So I think it's going to be interesting to see how things pan out. But yeah, I'm just looking forward to the series, man.
Of course, yeah. And I've mentioned this quite a few times. Realistically, I'm not too fussed about the result. I'm just happy to see cricket back on. If the West Indies whitewash us 3-0, I'm honestly not too fussed. But yeah, we just alluded to the omissions there. 3 pretty big names, I think everyone can agree. Shimon Hetmyer, Darren Bravo, such a wealth of experience in that middle order, and Kemo Paul. What did you make of their decision not to come on this tour?
I can't really fault them, as people say, because that's especially for 2 of those guys, Shimon Hetmyer and Kemo Paul. They live in Guyana, where things are very close knit. A lot of villages, people don't really leave and stuff. So for them to risk their families, getting it and maybe spreading it, it's a huge risk. I think I have to commend England and the England and Wales Cricket Board for the protocols that they put in place, because I've talked to a lot of players that are there in England, and they've told me, that it's really safe and there's some really tough protocols there. So I think everything will be fine. But I can't fault the guys for opting out. Obviously, they're big losses to me. The 3 of those guys are wealth and experience to that top order. But as I said, I can't fault them for opting out because these are very trying circumstances, and they just didn't seem it to be safe enough.
Exactly. Yeah, absolutely nothing against them from me either. As you said, it's unique circumstances. We as fans aren't even allowed to go, so I've got nothing against them either. But as you said, it is going to be a massive loss. I thought in particular Darren Bravo, just because of the experience he brings. But again, got Jermaine Blackwood in. He had a great 4-day championship series, didn't they? So we'll wait and see. But also in that squad, you touched upon the reserve players. Now, who of those reserves really stands out to you, Nikhil?
Well, I think Kyle Mayers, of course, for the amount of runs he scored, 654. Shane Moses is another one that's been scoring a lot of runs at the first class level for about 3 seasons now. He passed the 450 run mark this year, and we saw how talented he is in that first warm-up match, being able to score at 80 and 40. So yeah, I think those 2 guys, and then also with the ball, Keon Harding is 29 wickets in the first class season, and he was the strike partner alongside Shamar Holder that many people forget. So he's going to definitely be one for the future. He has a lot of pace. So I think the reserves look pretty good in the case of an injury or maybe a performance issue. I think those guys are very adequate to make their debut and come on replace someone that may need dropping or is hurt.
100%. Yeah, I agree with you definitely. I remember Carl Mayers. He used to play for the Zooks, didn't he, in
Yeah,
CPL?
he did.
Yeah, one of the early seasons. Also, in terms of that, someone personally for me is Josh Da Silva, who had a great not regional 4-day, the Super 50, sorry, for the emerging players. He is a great young wicketkeeper, and I think he'll be very good in the future. But now let's focus in on the squad. Okay, the first match, the series opener starts in 9 days. We are recording this on the Monday for anyone watching this later on in the week. But what's your ideal Test 11 be for that particular match?
Well, I think it's going to be between, to see if the West Indies do go with the 4-pace prong attack. But I think personally for me, I would play Cornwall. So my 11 would be Craig Brathwaite, John Campbell, of course, Shea Hope at 3, Brooks at 4, Jermaine Blackwood at 5. Then we have Roston Chase, Shane Dowrich, and Jason Holder, 6, 7, 8. And then I think, for me, I would go with Cornwall, Roach, and Shannon Gabriel looks to be fit, so I would go with him. Well, actually, no, I think maybe for this first test, I may leave out Cornwall and play Alzari Joseph simply because, sorry to change on you there, but I think simply because of how good he's been bowling. Both of those guys, Shannon Gabriel and Alzari Joseph, has been bowling, at practice from what I've seen. And I think, you need to rattle England in the first test because it's something that worked for us when they came to the West Indies last year. So I think, maybe I'll go with the 4-seamers and leave out Cornwall for this one, but I think he's definitely going to get an opportunity, Raheem Cornwall.
That's interesting. So you'd rather go with Roston Chase over Cornwall?
Yeah, because I think Chase has to, bat in the top order. I think Chase's spot is pretty much secured. He's done well, scored a couple of hundreds in the past couple of years. So, yeah, I think it's definitely going to be between Cornwall and maybe Alzari Joseph for that spot if Shannon Gabriel's fit.
Wow, fair enough. Not bad choices at all. What about Raymond Reefer? Raymond Reefer, he's had a pretty good warm-up, hasn't he?
Yeah, for sure. Sorry about that. Raymond Reefer obviously getting a lot of wickets, 5 and 11 balls in the warm-up. He's someone that, has deserved an opportunity for a long time and hasn't got it. And I think he can be a viable option, only playing the 1 test, scoring over 50 runs, taking 2 wickets. But, he can be a very viable option simply because he offers you something with the bat. Obviously, from my time at the Tridents, I know Raymond very well. He plays for my club as well in Barbados. So, I know him very well. But I think, if the West Indies were to want a little extra padding with the bat, Raymond Reefer can be a viable option because of what he offers, at 9 and 8, 8 and 9. So, I think Raymond can be another person that, swings the ball. Maybe not in terms of the pace up there with those other guys, but he gives you it with the swing as well.
100%, and I've actually put down in some notes, I'll put Raymond Reefer for the second match in Old Trafford, especially if it's cloudy conditions. I think he's a really viable option for the West Indies. And who in that team do you think are the key players?
Well, I think for me, the 2 key players are going to be the ones from 2017, Craig Brathwaite and Shea Hope. But I'm going to focus more on Craig Brathwaite because I think Craig, how much pressure has been on him, and obviously hasn't had a great 2 years, but I know how good of a player he is, someone who also plays for my home club here in Barbados. And I know how serious he is and how much he loves playing for the West Indies. And, he always mentions that role of seeing the new ball off. And with the bowling that England are going to come with, obviously no saliva being able to use on the ball, etc. I think Craig's role is elevated now. He needs to bat time and, see off that new ball to allow him to be a lot easier for the, guys less inexperienced, like a Jermaine Blackwood, for example, who's played relatively, a lot, who played against England already. But I think Craig and Shea's jobs to score runs and get the West Indies off to a good start are going to be crucial.
Yeah, 100%. Really good point. And talking to Jermaine Blackwood, I was there for his for that match. He played at Edgbaston, didn't he, in the day-night match?
Yeah, he did. Well,
yeah, pretty good result for England as well. Much better than our 2019 one. But what about the bowling attack though? Because obviously you mentioned Alzari Joseph, he could be a real option. You got Kemal Roach, you got Cornwall, Chase, Gabriel, who could come in as well. Who would you say is the West Indies key bowler really for this series? Also, I forgot to mention Holder.
Yeah, so Shamar Holder is a newcomer in the squad. I think it's going to be a real headache for the West Indies selectors because there's a lot of talent there. Everybody wants to see Shamar Holder on the scene, but you have someone like an experienced Shannon Gabriel coming back from injury. So where do you go? And also you have Raheem Cornwall, who took 10 wickets in his last test match.
Yep.
And I think Phil Simmons in one of the press conferences sort of alluded to that Cornwall would play. But to see him play and, drop one of the seamers, to leave out a guy like Alzari Joseph, I think, or Shannon Gabriel will be a big decisions to make for the West Indies. But for me, the key bowler will be a guy like Kemar Roach, because with uncertainty surrounding Shannon Gabriel's fitness, Kemar Roach is definitely going to be the leader of the attack. He's very good at marshalling his troops and just, mentoring a lot of youngsters. Keon Harding and Shamar Holder are two guys that learned a lot from him in this first class season playing for Barbados. But yeah, I think he's going to be so crucial with his swing, his ability to bowl at a high pace at times. And in England conditions, we know how good they are for fast bowling. So I think Kemar will be, if he's firing, the West Indies could be in good stride.
Yeah, 100%. For me, he is their also key bowler. I would just like to touch upon Rakeem Cornwall a bit more, though, if we can, Nikhil, because obviously there's been a lot of talk about him coming into the series, hasn't there? A lot of people maybe haven't seen him. How do you rate Rakeem Cornwall as a player?
I think I rate him very highly. I would rate him the best spinner in the Caribbean right now because, just the drift that he's been able to get, forget the spin, he's able to get so much drift in the air. We saw it against Afghanistan, and he can be a deadly bowler with his height, the amount of bounce, he gets a lot of grip and turn. And yeah, I really rate Rakeem Cornwall. I think, he's an asset to have. I've been calling for him to play for a long time, obviously fitness, etc. And a lot of behind the scenes stuff has kept him out. But the fact that he's finally, got a chance. And just to tell you how good he is, 5 matches, 30 wickets in the first class season. So he really, stands out amongst the rest in terms of spin bowlers in the Caribbean. And I think I'm happy to see him, especially I know England conditions do favour off spinners at times. So if the Cricket West Indies selectors do go with him, I have full confidence that he'll be able to do well.
Yeah, that's an interesting point. I have actually got him in my 11 for the first match at the Rose Bowl.
Okay.
Because historically there has just been a bit of that grip and turn, and I think Rakeem Cornwall can really exploit that. As you've just alluded to, had a fantastic first-class season as well for the Leeward Islands. And in terms of his performances for the West Indies as well, 2 matches, 13 wickets, including 7 for 75 against Afghanistan. And also something that I think we need to also look upon is his slip catching. That's something that he's absolutely stunning at. He created, he took a really sharp catch to dismiss, was it Hamza Hotak in that game in Chittagong? Just stuck out the right paw. But I think he could be an option. And I think for people who haven't maybe seen him out there, he could be an absolute weapon for the West Indies. I'll be interested to see how he plays. Definitely. I'm looking forward to it, hopefully.
Yeah, for sure. I think also something that we didn't mention is his batting ability. He opens the batting for the St. Lucia's, St. Lucia's Zooks. He can definitely bat at a lot with the bat. So for maybe an inexperienced West Indies batting lineup without a Shimon Hetman and a Dan Bravo, having someone like Rakeem Cornwall at the bottom to bat with Shane Dowrich and Jason Holder can be very valuable in the circumstances. So yeah, for me, I wouldn't fault West Indies for playing Cornwall in that first test because the guy did get 10 wickets in his last test match.
Well, yeah, exactly. And yeah, I went with that. I put Joseph as 12th man, funnily enough. Pretty much the same team, but yeah, that was the only change. And now let's talk about the hosts a bit. Obviously, we've gone through the West Indies. We'll be talking about key battles and key players in a bit. But what do you make of the England squad that's turned up?
Yeah, I think, it's horrifying as a West Indies fan to see that sort of English squad. The only thing I'll say in terms of the batting, I'm not too worried about that because I think, obviously, quality guys like Joe Root, Ben Stokes, Johnny Bairstow, Josh Butler, like the quality in England is obviously very immense, as we know. But the fact that I'm confident because of how our bowlers handled those guys when they came in 2019. I know conditions are a lot different now, but it's to me more the bowling that worries me because you have Chris Wokes, Ben Stokes can do something with the ball as well. Then you have Jofra, Stuart Broad, Jimmy Anderson, and Sam Curran. It doesn't really stop there because you see a lot of exciting guys on the bench too, Saqib Mahmood and a lot more. So, and also Mark Wood as well. So in terms of the pace bowling in England, I think it's going to be a very, very tough task for the West Indies batters to get through those guys. And I see England saying, they're going to rotate their bowlers because of the Pakistan series after the West Indies series. But as I said before, regardless of who they put on the field, they're going to be quality bowlers, and it's going to be a challenge for the West Indies. So I think England, that 30-man squad is a pretty solid one.
Yeah, fair point. I mean, I might as well just read out a few names from that squad who maybe people don't really know. You've obviously got Dom Sibley, who came onto the scene rather nice in South Africa. We didn't have him last time in the Caribbean, so it'd be interesting to see how he now adapts to English conditions. Was brilliant in the County Championship. Someone who I think could be quite an interesting option for England, genuinely, is Dan Lawrence. Do you know anything about him, Nikhil?
No, I've heard the name, watched him in the T20 Blast, but I wouldn't know as much as you. So you could tell us about him.
Well, yeah, he bats number 4 for Essex, and he's outcompeted Sam Hain, who had a much better average than him actually in county cricket last season. But really technically astute, really compact, pretty free-flowing. I think he could be an option for England in the first Test match if Joe Root isn't actually there. So I'll just give you almost my 11 for the first match, seeing as we've got the West Indies 11. But my 11 would be Dom Sibley and Roy Burns opening. I think those two are probably the best options. Denley at 3. Lawrence at 4 if Root isn't available. If Root's available, go Joe Root. Stokes at 5. Pope at 6. Moeen Ali at 7. Now, that's going to be an interesting option. Ben Foakes at 8. Archer at 9. Broad at 10. Anderson at 11. What do you make of that 11, Nikhil?
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Obviously, Pope is one that, people will ask if he will play. But I think, whoever plays for England, as I said, they have a lot of depth in that squad, guys that played at a high level. And obviously, it's not like, for the West Indies, some of these guys have never played in English conditions. These guys are playing in conditions that they know and know well. So, obviously, Joe Root's loss is going to be a huge one. Someone like a Stuart Broad, I've heard may miss a Test match. But they've got guys that are used to the conditions, and this will be pretty easy for them. I'm looking forward to seeing the likes of Saqib Mahmood get a game, hopefully, in this series, because I think he's extremely exciting. I'm happy to see these young England steamers come through the setup because I think they have a lot to offer to world cricket.
Definitely. Yep, Saqib Mahmood, love that option. Ollie Stone as well, who's local to me, plays for Warwickshire. As I said, we've got quite a good pace batch coming into this series. And who do you think is going to be the key players for England? Maybe choose, I don't know, batsman and bowler.
The key batter for me will have to be someone probably like a Johnny Bairstow or a Joe Root, because I think, when Joe Root does well, England does well. Obviously, he's probably one of their best batsmen. But in terms of the bowling now, I think Jofra Archer is going to have, all the English media are jumping on it in terms of the point to prove. But remember, in that 2019 series, Jofra wasn't there. So he makes a huge difference from what he's been able to achieve in world cricket. So I think, Jofra is going to present a challenge to the West Indies batters. But I'm just hoping that they're able to see him off, navigate him, and, maybe look at the rest. But it's not a bowling attack where you look at it and say, okay, we can see these guys off and attack the others. All those guys are really quality. So I think the West Indies need to be careful in terms of the batters and get some runs under their belt. Spend some time at the crease because it's not going to be an easy task at all.
No, of course not. Yeah, as you mentioned. I found it interesting that you mentioned Johnny Bairstow's name. Do you think that he's actually going to get a game in this series?
Yeah, I think, it's a possibility. Obviously, he's very experienced and he did have some scores in the Caribbean against similar bowling attack. It's a tough batting lineup to break into, as you said. But yeah, I mean, for example, he's very versatile to me. Combining all different positions. We've seen him at that bat at 6. We've seen him bat in the top order, open the batting as well. So yeah, I think for me, if I was selecting the side, I would go with Johnny Bairstow simply because of what he can offer, to a team and the wealth of experience that he does have.
Interesting option, and obviously is a choice for England. We'll wait and see if he makes the final 14-man squad, I believe. They're going to announce that later on this week. But also in that little segment you alluded to, the battle of Archer and the West Indies batsmen. Now, I just want to zoom in on one particular battle because I think it's going to be really interesting in this series. There's been a lot of talk about Archer. There's also been a lot of talk about Shai Hope. Now, looking at the stats, funnily enough, Shai Hope, 31 matches, 1498 runs, 27.23 average. 2 centuries. Both of them were against England in that win at Headingley. What do you make of Shai Hope's role, first of all, in this West Indies team?
I think Shai Hope's role, he needs to do a lot more, and he knows it as well. But he has probably one of the most important roles because he's really that facilitator at the top. Someone that the guys like to bat around. It's usually Craig Brathwaite, but when Craig is out and Shai is there, Shai at the crease just brings so much comfort to the rest of the batting lineup and allows them to play a lot more freely because they know they have, sort of a rock at the other end, someone who will just stay there with them and, allow them to play their shots. And Shai as well, in terms of his technique, is also able to play shots and score at a free rate as well. So I think when he spends some time at the crease, it's really encouraging for the West Indies. He's obviously underperformed in the last couple of years. He knows that. I mean, scoring those 200s, he would have wanted to get some more, but yeah, Shai needs to do a lot better, but he knows it, and I know how talented and skilled he is, and I have no doubts that he'll be able to replicate come this Test series. He likes playing in England. He's done it before, went to school in England as well. So yeah, I think definitely he can do a lot better. And as you mentioned with Jofra, he knows Jofra very well. They're good friends because they both play for the same club in Barbados. So I'm hoping that he may know a bit about Joffrey's tricks and stuff, so he'll be able to navigate him. But yeah, he definitely needs to spend as much time as possible at the crease.
Yeah, 100%. And just to give Shea Hope stats against England, yeah, they're pretty impressive. 508 of his runs, so over a third of his runs have come against England at an average of 42.33. So he averages almost 15 runs more against England. And obviously, we mentioned the 2 centuries, both in Leeds in 2017. Now, the one thing that I will say about Shea Hope, and I noticed this on the last tour, obviously, the 2-1 loss to the West Indies, he did seem slightly vulnerable to the fast short ball. Okay, and I looked in particular at the battle between him and Mark Wood in St. Lucia. He was dismissed for 1 and 14 runs in that last match against Mark Wood. He had really got on his head, wasn't scoring runs very freely. Do you think Archer or Wood's short ball actually will be a key component to this England attack?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, as you mentioned, he has shown vulnerability to that short delivery. Maybe also balls leaving him as well. Him and Craig Rathett both have been vulnerable to being caught in a slip cordon at times. And yeah, I think Shea is talented enough to be able to play any delivery. Obviously, the pace of those guys, Mark Wood and Joffrey Archer, is never easy on a St. Lucia surface that was pretty decent for the fast bowlers. So I think yeah, it's going to be a challenge, but Shea will have his work cut out for him, and will be planning all this time to know what to expect. And I can tell you, facing those guys at Alzheimer's, Joseph, trying to get rid of the nets is no easy task either. They're ramping it up as well. So I'm sure he'll be, preparing well.
Well, good. And to be honest, I wish him the best. I like Shea Hope a lot. He's got a beautiful cover drive, hasn't he? When that goes into full flow. So yeah, I do wish him the best. And also the second battle, which I think is quite interesting. There's been a bit of media coverage about this. Is Holder versus Stokes, the top 2 rated all-rounders by the ICC. Who do you think is going to come out in top in this series?
How can I go against Jason Holder? I think a quality player, with the bat and ball. And I think Jason knows these English guys well. Played against them a couple of times now, and he will. I think he's going to win the battle hands down, because the West Indies, they've got Ben Stokes covered. He likes to get in a bit of trouble when he plays the West Indies. Always has something to say, but yeah, I think there's a different West Indies side, and Jason Holder is just very, very skilled, and he has his work cut out for him, as I said, and he'll be able to rally his troops well, and I think he'll win the battle.
Interesting. And as you say, I quite like that with Stokes. Do you remember when he saluted Cottrell in the ODI series? But yeah, you mentioned that. Ben Stokes against the West Indies. This is interesting, actually. In 2019, scored 186 runs against the West Indies in that series. 37.2 average, which was 10 less runs than he scored against any other team in 2019. Also only took 10 wickets. So he's going to be interesting. And as you mentioned, Jason Holder, he's almost the opposite. 229 runs, 114.5 average, boosted massively by that 202 in Barbados. 7 wickets with a 17.85 average. Definitely going to be a very, very interesting battle between those two. Obviously, as an England fan, I'm going to say Stokes. I love Jason Holder. He's probably, well, not even probably, he's the better bowler. I think that's quite simple battle. But looking at Stokes in 2019, 1,090 runs, 47.39 average, 30 wickets, an average of 32.6. I just can't look past the man. I'm sorry, Nikhil. But
yeah, he's a quality player, and but I think what's key there is that Jason bats at 8 and Ben Stokes bats at 4 and 5. So it's hard to compare them in terms of the runs, but obviously we know when Jason does get the opportunity, we know that he's able to score and bat and score runs. So I think he's a valuable asset in the lower order for the West Indies. And yeah, as you said, I'm looking forward to the battle.
Yeah, exactly. Both of them, well, they are the best. It's as simple as that. And yeah, wish them both the best. It's going to be a very interesting battle indeed. Now, moving on to the next kind of aspect of this preview show. Okay, Nikhil, we mentioned it slightly earlier with the Cornwall conversation, and that's spin bowling. So in this series, the 2 venues that have been chosen are the Rose Bowl, or the Ageas Bowl in Southampton, and Old Trafford in Manchester, which are both historically quite spin-conducive grounds, in particular on day 3 or 4. So my question to you is, who do you think is going to be England's spinner for this series?
I think they've gone back to Moeen Ali for a reason. He could have a big part to play. But yeah, England have a lot in terms of spinners. They have some good depth there. So yeah, I think Moeen Ali could be a big part simply because of his ability to, contribute with the bat. Obviously, he hasn't had a great, test series really, to test cricket career really. But in England, look at that guy's record; it speaks for itself. So I think he's definitely able to. They've got a lot of options there. I've seen a guy like Amir Virdi come into the squad. Another spinner as well, and I'm sure he'll be looking up for opportunity. Jack Leach is someone as well who, can do well in those conditions. So they have the spinning options. It's just about, who they go with. But I think Moeen Ali could be the preferred one simply because of his batting.
Yeah, I would agree with that, definitely, especially at the Rose Bowl. I mean, any England fans out there, you'll remember 934 against India? Just completely tore through, and that was absolutely incredible. And just to give you his record, really, at the Rose Bowl and Old Trafford, 17 wickets at the Rose Bowl, 15.47 average, and a 28.4 strike rate, which is insane. That's absolutely insane. Ali at Old Trafford, not that much worse, actually. 16 wickets, 18.5 average, 30 strike rate. So for me, realistically, Moeen Ali is going to be England's frontline spinner. Do you think at all that either team could use two spinners, though? Because in 2018, England used two against India. We played both Rashid and Ali. Do you think either team is going to be tempted to play two spinners at all?
I'm not sure about England because I think, I don't really see. I mean, obviously they have Verdi, they have Leach, they have Moeen Ali, but a lot of these guys, are sort of do the same thing and have the same role. In terms of the West Indies now, I think you could see Roston Chase and Raheem Cornwall because I think, as I said before, Roston Chase's place is cemented. It's only about Cornwall, but yeah, two off spinners. But I think Cornwall, is too good with the ball in terms of what he has over Chase to not play. So yeah, I think for the West Indies, definitely you could see two spinners. But you're not going to see, I don't think, Jomel Warrican, who's in the reserves, the left arm spinner, because unless there's barring any injury to one of those guys. So yeah, I think for the West Indies for sure, but I'm not too sure about England. I think you may just see Moeen Ali right throughout the series.
Good point, definitely. Yeah, I was going to mention Jamel Warrican, but yes, he is one of the reserves. He was in the Afghanistan game, wasn't he?
Yes, he was.
Got a wicket, didn't he? Was it one
or
two?
Just one.
No. Well, to be fair, Cornwall took most of them, didn't he? But and also, what about in terms of the rotations, really? As you alluded to earlier, England are going to be rotating the seamers. Do you think the West Indies are going to do that? Because we've alluded to Jamal Holder. He had a fantastic season with Barbados. Do you think that they could rotate the seams at some point?
For sure. I definitely think so. For example, you have a guy like Shannon Gabriel coming off an injury. I'm sure he'll play that first test, but there'll be questions asked after the first test, depending on the workload that he, has and what he does in that first test. Because obviously the West Indies have to look past just this series, and they want to keep their guys healthy. You have someone like a Jamal Holder rearing and chomping at the bits, ready to go, a fresh guy coming from the first class circuit. So I think he's going to get a game for sure. It's only a matter of when. But yeah, guys like Shannon Gabriel, Kemar Roach, even Azari Joseph, who's had back injuries in the past and now is recovering well. I think all those guys could be rotated, and they have it in the reserves. I like Keon Harding to come up, and Ray Marifa, as you mentioned before, that can come in and play for these guys. So yeah, you will see some rotation.
Yeah, definitely. I hope to see Jamal Holder at some point, and I really do, because I do quite rate him, actually. I think he's quite a good young bowler coming through. But yeah, just to wrap up this preview show, really, Nikhil, okay, we've got to ask the important question, the question that everyone wants to hear. What do you think the series prediction will be? What's your prediction? What's the score?
I see this is a very tough one because I picked the West Indies to win on other podcasts I've been on, but I'm going to go for the West Indies to win 2-0 because I think one will draw and the West Indies will win. Listen, I'm hoping that I'll never pick against the West Indies going into a series, regardless of how good or bad we are. I think, I know these guys and I know how much they, back their ability and how talented they all are. And yes, England, we know the powerhouses that they have. Everybody's told me, oh, look at this bowling attack from England. They've played so many more test matches and all that. But cricket plays on the day, not on paper. So I think at the end of the day, it comes down to who wants it more. These guys are very talented coming from the West Indies. And I think, watch out for them because they're going to be coming. Guys like Craig Brathwaite and stuff getting runs in the warm-up matches, all encouraging signs. And yeah, I think the West Indies have it in them to do, win against England and retain that Wisden Trophy. It's only a matter of going out there on the field and performing, because they definitely have the talent and the skill to do it.
Yeah, I respect the confidence. I really do. Obviously, go with your team. Don't don't go against them. My prediction will be 2 on England. I think it's going to be a very, very close series. I really do. We haven't really mentioned the external factors. Obviously, no crowd. That's going to play against England. I think Stuart Broad actually mentioned that in an interview. In addition to that, obviously, no saliva. So you never know. Jimmy and Broad might be a bit negated by that. But in addition to that, I think the first game is going to be the vital one. I think whoever wins that. At the Rose Bowl, historically, if you win the toss and bat first, you win. So might be a case of whoever wins the toss and bats first in that first game. But I think if England win that, they'll win the series. If West Indies win it, they'll win the series. So mine is going to be a precarious 2-1, but it could go either way. I would not be surprised at all if West Indies, with the likes, as you mentioned, Craig Brathwaite, John Campbell's a great batsman as well, Brooks, Hope, a fantastic seam attack. I think they probably do have it within them as well. But purely because I'm wearing the England shirt, we've got to go 2 on England, I think. But yeah, that pretty much wraps up the preview show. All that's left to say is thank you very much for coming on, Nikhil. Do you have anything to kind of plug or promote just as we finish this up?
Yeah, for sure. And just before I do that, let me just say, in terms of the result, I didn't get to add this before. Yeah, it'll be great if the West Indies win. But what I'm looking for is to see, you know, how we've been playing in this unit for about 2 years, 2 to 3 years now. So I'm just looking for the development of some of our players, the inexperienced ones, and just to see guys doing well. Even if we don't come out victorious, it's what's going to be satisfying to me, because at the end of the day, it's all about development. It's a group of young guys. So to see, you know, some of them growing and getting a lot of experience is what is really necessary to me. In terms of me plugging anything, you guys can just follow me on my social medias. It's at Nick Uttam, Uttam, Nik, so Nikuttam on all socials. And yeah, thank you so much for having me on. Follow the great Connoisseur. He's doing a great job. And yeah, I really appreciate you having me on for this series, man.
No problem, Nikhil. You've been an absolute pleasure. Obviously, I'll leave your links to the social media in the description. Mm-hmm. And yeah, just kind of wrap this up, really. As you said, for me, the series result doesn't really matter either. It's just nice to see cricket on, isn't it? It's been 3 months. We finally get to see it. I love the West Indies. Love West Indies fans. Obviously, won't be able to see that, but it'll be interesting to obviously interact. And yeah, just cannot wait for this series. It's going to be so good. But that wraps up the preview show, guys. Thank you very much to anyone who's tuned in. And as always, enjoy the rest of your day.